Oh.
Interesting time to check in for the first time all year.
Fire it up.
Oh, see how they're doing.
Fire it down.
I can't believe it. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast.
Let's go.
And presented as always by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Use promo code DNVR whenever you sign up. I haven't been here for a while.
I know.
I've
You
left
left
it to
us.
you guys.
You
How'd
left-
it go?
I think it went pretty well.
Was it
This is
pretty,
like
was
the
it
old-
fun?
We did some numbers.
This is the ultimate. Adam always describes me as like a fun time uncle.
Yeah.
This is the worst stretch of the season. Adam's like, oh, just the arena.
Yeah.
I found out some interesting stuff about. I was talking to Calvin.
Yeah, it was good, man.
We're just taking shots. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, are the kids tired? Well, I'm off. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, I wasn't even online half
Fun
the time.
time uncle.
Oh, must
Adam.
be nice.
What were people like online? Were they pretty chill?
You know. You
know what it
You
is?
know how online is.
Harrison, you know what this is?
What's up?
It's that goddamn $2 bill. We called it immediately.
Oh, no.
Is that still up there?
Yes, it's hidden underneath.
Oh, no.
We have to
can't
take
do
that
this.
down.
We can't do this.
We have to
Are
take that
really?
down. Should I go take it down right now?
Oh.
We're not gonna get rid of it, but it can't be on set. Like
I think
until
I need to go take it down right now.
exorcism. It's listen.
I can't believe we're
It's
doing
the greatest
this.
piece of-
Somebody gave us a really cool.
It's the
a really
greatest
cool
piece
gift.
of sports memorabilia I've ever
Yeah.
seen. Unfortunately, it's cursed. What am
So
I
if you
supposed
don't
to do?
know what we're talking about, somebody gave us a Will Barton signed $2 bill.
Yeah, dude.
A Will Barton, and since then,
It's been a disaster.
I hate that we have to take this down. Are you going to the camera to show them there? The
Other-
It's, yeah, you're never going to be able to get that.
Yeah, dude. Kale, show yourself and the bill at the same time.
This is
The
why,
Will Barton themed.
This is why sports are so fun and our show is so fun. This doesn't mean anything.
I had to do that.
But it means everything.
But doesn't it?
But doesn't it mean everything?
doesn't
I
it?
might mean everything. I don't know.
We're going to go over guys, we're going to talk about it. I haven't been able to share my perspective on last night's game. Went back and watched it late last night. I'm kind of excited to bounce some ideas off of you guys from it. And by you guys, I of course mean the lovely D-line.
You know what? I've never heard a more succinct and yet more accurate description of me, D-line.
Look at these kicks you got on today.
Yeah, dude.
Me and you, this is a little new.
Me and you
Did
are part of the
treat yourself?
trainer club. Listen, there are so many shoes I like just wanted so badly when I was a kid and had no access to. Now that I'm an adult and they look ridiculous on me, I don't care, dude.
That's so true.
Like, well, I can't go like. There's so many like Jordans I can't possibly wear for reasons that should be obvious to anyone that's not Dev or that can see me next to Dev. Can you imagine me wearing what Dev wears? It'd be bad. But this,
You
it's a
wouldn't pull
dream.
up. You don't have the confidence or swagger of a
No.
Over here, hat back, low on the range, switch lanes.
This is a hat backward type of day.
It is.
Harrison wins.
That's for sure.
All right, let's get into this, guys. So last night's game, Nuggets lose to the Brooklyn Nets.
Why are you talking about old stuff already?
We got to talk about old stuff. I actually thought this was a really fascinating game. Like, if you forget the context of Denver being on a losing streak and, you know, the conversation around MVP and all these different things, if you kind of throw that out, if this was just a game that existed in a vacuum, then I think it would actually be one of the most fascinating ones.
Yeah.
Because Brooklyn presents a very unique problem that I think more and more teams... I think it's overstated how different the postseason is from the regular season. I think fans sometimes act like it's two different sports. I don't think it is. What is different about it is if teams find something that challenges a team, they will go to it over and over and over again. But I think this idea of like the game slows down in the playoffs, not necessarily true. You know, it gets more physical. Also, I don't know that is as true as people think. I think those things get overstated. But Brooklyn Nets are a team comprised almost solely of wings. Denver Nuggets are a team comprised of no wings.
Wingless.
Guards.
Of guards and forwards or centers, but no
Lots of
no
guards.
wings. And when we think about what do teams try to do in the playoffs, one of the axioms that is true is teams will go small. They don't really mean small. They just mean small, no center. But they'll go wide and be able to switch. Well, that's what Brooklyn does in their base set with Claxton and with Nerlens Noel. But then when you pulled those guys out in the third quarter and went to their switchy lineup, to me, that's a preview of all the teams. I think they most look like the Phoenix Suns. And the fact that Denver struggled so much in that third quarter with getting Jokic the ball, forget everything else on the defensive end. The fact that they had such a hard time solving what should be an easier lineup to score on, to me, was very interesting.
Well, yeah, and they should be able to solve it because they should know it's coming.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Ever since the 76ers game, Like that should have been a red alert to the Nuggets that this is how teams are going to try to guard Nikola Jokic. And this is how teams are going to try to guard him in the playoffs. Like we saw Toronto do it. We saw Brooklyn do it last night. And they've got to find a way to counteract it. They got to find a way to get him the ball. And they got to be ready for it. Like now it looks like they're still not ready for it. And that is concerning because it's the only way to slow down the Nuggets starters. You know, like it's the only way to limit Denver's offense with Nikola Jokic on the floor.
And by the way, it wasn't even that limiting. It's one of the things is when you go small, if your defense doesn't get worse, maybe your offense gets better. And that's what happened. Like Denver still scored. In that third quarter, they had a lot of turnovers. And then there's some other things that happened. But Denver still scored at a great rate last night in that game.
Yeah, I just noticed it most in the third quarter, though. Like I noticed it most in the third.
The third quarter.
And then the Nuggets only scored 18 points in the third. And Nikola Jokic played the entire quarter.
Yeah, the third quarter is a Shakespearean tragedy. I am glad that we're starting. The difference between the postseason and the regular season is that you have an opportunity to use tactics and to change and to figure out, find the weak spot. And so we were talking about this just a little bit last night, like the idea that the Nuggets are seeing the same kinds of tactics being used against them this far out from the playoffs is actually a good thing.
They get to see how they do it.
They get to see it. They get to figure out, like, okay, how do we counteract this? We're definitely going to see this. We need to make sure we do X, Y, and Z, or we at least have. And the nice thing is that, you know, typically you're talking about, okay, Michael Malone has to put together some sort of scheme to blah, blah, blah. But it's more like Nikola Jokic also has time to consider how to break these defenses himself on the court, like where to look to. So I love that they have time. It's miserable right now. I mean, this has been the Michael Malone experience for the Denver Nuggets, is that some new wrinkle is thrown out and there's just like absolutely no ability.
We talked about it on the show for a week.
No ability to respond in what feels like a timely manner, but always the right answer comes. Mercifully, we have time. So I actually feel okay. I mean, this is just, we're in the moment. This feels like terrible and it's garbage, but it's literally 3 games and we're spoiled. We're terrible fans now. What happened to us? We used to be beautiful.
I mean, I'm with you on the broader picture, and like I've taken some flack on it and what little I've been on social media over the last week, because it's
fun
been
time
kind of
uncle over here.
You made it very clear you've managed to stay off of social media.
But one of the things I see people saying is like, Adam, you're not we're supposed to believe this is no big deal. And I'm kind of that opinion.
Yeah.
It's not that it's no big deal. These things are important, but that it's good to go through them. I mean, this idea that it would have been better if Denver just won by 20 every game from now to the playoffs, it would if it was a good process. But what these games are showing, at least in part, I think there's other stuff going on, but at least in part, they're showing that, no, there is a process still to be completed, and Denver is going through that. By the way, some of this is tactics, which I want to get back to here very quickly, but some of this is also just emotional. This was the heaviest week.
It was
This is the heaviest, I think, regular season week of the Jokic era in terms of the pressure got real, I think, for the first time last week. And what I mean by that is, I'm not trying to sound like a hot take artist, but over the last few years, the stakes haven't been that high. Murray's been out. It feels like this is a year where if it's a disaster postseason, Michael Malone could be fired. I never really thought about those things. But now you're kind of confronted with teams that don't get over the hump. And I'm not saying there's like a bar, you have to get to the Western Conference, you have to get to this. I'm just saying if Denver flames out and plays really poorly in the playoffs and loses in a fashion that makes you think they were not at all close to being where they need to be, then there could be trades of players you didn't expect to be traded. There could be a coaching change. And most important of all, the narrative around the team will become so heavy next year, because then the onus switches squarely onto, well, these guys have never proven they can get over or what have you. And those things I think are fair. And this week, to me, the tactic stuff is important. This is interesting. This was a preview of how much pressure is going to be on these guys 4 or 5 weeks from now. Yeah. And I think that, to me, as much as anything, is a good thing for them to go to, a reminder that, people are going to be talking and overanalyzing every micro thing that happens. Be ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. Like, welcome to being a real team.
Yep.
Like, welcome to being a real championship contending team with a back-to-back MVP, with a great roster that is expected to compete for a championship. Like, this is what should be coming. These are the expectations they should have.
Yeah.
Like, there are no excuses this year. Last year, Everybody knew last year was just a gap year.
Purgatory.
Yeah, it was a gap year. We were in purgatory. Like now they're being judged like a championship contender should.
This playoff run counts for 3. And what I mean by that is the last 2 don't count.
Yeah.
So now if Denver made it to the second round each of the last 2 years, and then this year made it to the second round, we would be, there's a cap on this team. It's the second round or first or whatever. Now, since you didn't get those, this year is just going to be like, well, that's what this team is,
true.
and we have to adjust now.
This is what you're describing is the bust. Like that's what or bust means.
Right.
Like the pressure can bust teams. Like it really can like when you that's why people are always like hesitant to use that kind of language, but it's real. Like now it's like if the team is unable to meet the expectations that are before them, they will bust. And bust means we could start to look for new coaching. We could start exactly what you're saying. Like the core of the team could be under fire, could be under question. Expectations, man. It's true. This is what it feels like.
Welcome to the party.
All of these years when we've been screaming that we want the Nuggets to have attention. Now we have it. It's like, man, this sucks. We stop talking about us. Like every day we just be like, oh, another day. Jokic not on first take. They don't talk about him. It's like, keep Jokic's name out your mouth. What are you talking about him so much for?
The guy that stood out to me in a very negative way on rewatch that didn't necessarily in the first time around was Aaron Gordon. Especially in that third quarter. I mean, let's be clear here. I thought Denver had a good first, second, and fourth quarter. They had a really bad bench stint the first time around.
Yep.
It was really bad.
Yes.
But the starters in the first, second, and fourth quarter were very good. That third quarter was horrible, especially from the starters and the Jokic minutes. So let's just analyze that third quarter. Because in that one is when they went small. Claxton, and by the way, originally you think, oh, maybe this was a genius move by Jacques Vaughn. Claxton picked up a 4th foul, and it might have just been that sometimes the adjustment happens by necessity.
Right.
The Nuggets started, including Michael Porter, had a very good start to the second half. He had a jumper, and then he had a follow-up put-back dunk off of a Murray miss in transition. So I think in our minds it was bad from start to finish. It started okay. 9 minutes to go, they sub Claxton out. And they go small, and it was a 27-10 run for Brooklyn. Small ball with Jokic on the court the entirety of that stretch. So Jokic ball versus small ball. And what they did was pre-rotate to try to take away the entry pass. And Denver had turnovers and clunky offense trying to get Jokic the ball. He did not touch the ball very much in that third quarter, at least not in the ways that he needed. And when he did get it, they sold out so hard with length. What did I say about Brooklyn? When they took Claxton out, they basically were playing 5 wings. 5 small forwards is basically what their lineup looked like, all with enormous length, all super high IQ, and their rotations were hyper aggressive. And some of the things that need to happen, other players need to be able to take advantage. I thought Jamal Murray did a bad job of attacking 4-on-3. He needs to be a better player at doing that, but he came out of the game after that third quarter, so maybe he was feeling so rough he couldn't do it. But Aaron Gordon, I thought, missed the read over and over again. And in the postgame, Nikola Jokic, I asked him, what is it the team has to do in those lineups? And he said, usually we're a lot better at reading things quick. If the team compromises like that, there's different reads. I thought he in particular missed those reads over and over. And there was a possession in the third quarter where you could see Jokic being double teamed, and he looks over and he kind of gives him like what are you doing?
Right.
So to me, Aaron Gordon, we talk about his high IQ and improving his game. Last night was one of those ones that made me think, was he just not feeling it? Is he banged up? Or is there still a reads to the game when teams throw out wrinkles that he's not seeing?
That's interesting. Yeah. He has felt there's a heaviness to his game right now. He and Jamal Murray, there's a real heaviness to their game that feels like it is their bodies are bothering them. We saw Aaron Gordon like in pain, like reaching for, I don't know. I mean, this is all pure speculation entirely, obviously, but those two guys just feel like, man, they just need some time off.
Every time Aaron Gordon reaches his right arm back to catch a lob at the rim, like, ugh.
Yeah. That thing, when you watching, you can feel like the old classic legs for Jamal Murray. His legs are heavy again.
Heavy legs.
His goddamn legs.
You're so right. Honest to God, you originally said it as a serious but joking thing. It's honestly God the single most important word with Murray.
Legs.
Legs.
Where are you with his legs?
His legs looked horrible in this game.
I guess I got to make a Lego meter.
Oh, no.
Where
please
are
no.
you with Jamal Murray's legs? Are they springy?
crap.
Are they heavy?
But that was only the Murray part of this was only part of it. And then you go to the other end of the court where you think about 5 out. And Dorian Finney-Smith goes 5 of 7. That's the equivalent to me of Torrey Craig going 5 of 7. You know, you're talking about that's the guy, Jokic's going to guard him. He's going to get pulled out onto Dinwiddie, and you're going to help off so that the ball gets forced to him so you can contain Jokic. This is what teams are going to do. I mean, that is a preview of the strategy that the Phoenix Suns are going to have. And my hunch is that's the strategy the Denver Nuggets are going to have. Really try to draw the ball handler as far away. They're just going to, I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie had 16 assists in this game, and they weren't like he had beautiful passes. He just kept lobbing the ball over the trap to Claxton, and Claxton would either pass to someone else or finish the play. And Denver, you know, some of this, again, was hot shooting, but some of this was, man, if that's the best Denver can do against that defense, it's going to be really, really tough.
It was hot shooting, but it was hot, wide open shooting a lot of times. Like, as I recall, like more often than not, that's when there would be a very dagger feeling three that came from the Nets. It was like, well, there's no one around that guy, so that tracks. He was able to, like, oh, Aaron Gordon was pulled in really deep, or Michael Porter Jr. was pulled in really deep, and it's like obvious it's going to kick out to them. I don't know why they're leaving their guy so much. It's bizarre. I don't really understand. I mean, perhaps you can explain this to me a little bit more.
Why they're so open?
They're just why there's such a heavy focus on collapsing and leaving your guy open in what is the most efficient part of the NBA court, the 3-point in the corner. More often than not, like we have guys that sag in so deep.
I can tell you the reason. Yeah, the reason for this is your options are either to get Jokic switched out onto Spencer Dinwiddie, who's super good as a one-on-one scorer. He's an elite one-on-one player. And Jokic, obviously, in space, that's a really tough mismatch. Or you're going to have to send the double. And so what teams do is they put their weak guy in spots where he's going to be furthest to recover from and most open. And then you have to decide, am I recovering on Joe Harris, great shooter? Am I recovering on some of the other guys they have out there that are there, Mikal Bridges specifically to space the floor, or are you going to help off of Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, those guys? Denver obviously is going to elect to leave those guys open, but in today's NBA, you're able to stretch the defense out so thin, and Denver was not doing a good job of keeping the ball out of the easy pass. They were lobbing it over the top and getting it easy. But the thing is, I'm just not sure Denver can be that much better at that.
I know.
That's the thing that's concerning.
It is. But
that means they have to make him pay every time on the other end.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. That means like you can't score 18 points in the third.
Right.
They still only lost by 2 points, and they had the winning shot on the fingertips of the two-time MVP's hands. And so,
Denver dominated a lot of the numbers that typically point to who wins. Rebounds, 20 more rebounds. That's huge. The 3-point battle wasn't that different for a team that goes big to small. So you're right that to me that's what the lesson is. It's as weird as it sounds. Is Denver's defense in today's NBA? It's just if there's too many guys that can play 5 out. I just talked about this on another show. I think that'll come out later here. I hopped on Lowe's show today. He's going to do another Nuggets one.
Okay.
I know. There's no way to say it. But one of the things I talked about was 5, 6, 7 years ago, hitting a guy on the roll. There was like 4 guys that were good. Draymond was great at it. Jokic is great at it. I feel like the NBA has done this so much over the last 5 years that now there's a lot more play. Like Nick Claxton is pretty good at this, catching on the roll and either finishing or making one dribble. There's just the NBA is more talented at doing this that defense now becomes even more compromised. 5 out sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks.
And just kind of thinking about it, like the Suns can do that with Kevin Durant. The Clippers are
they can
probably
do it with
going to
Ayton,
do
by
that.
the way. Ayton's pretty good at that.
Ayton, yeah. The Mavs. Like, there's just a lot of teams in the West. Obviously, the Warriors.
Yeah. Here's my last thing, though, I will say about this. And I know this is a weird silver linings, like a really weird one. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson's really good. Mikal Bridges is phenomenal. He's an unbelievable basketball player. The Suns losing them. Yes, they got Kevin Durant. That's a great player. I mean, it's worth it. Mikal Bridges, to me, kind of demonstrates what made the Suns so hard. He can guard every type of player.
Yeah.
He can guard Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and KCP, and sometimes all on the same possession. And them losing him, I still look at that and go, I'm so glad we don't have to play him in the playoffs.
I know, man.
It's true. He when you look at him, it's like I was looking at him and thinking about how like Michael Phelps just came up in the office the other day. Michael Phelps is like literally built as the prototypical swimmer. He's got like the wide shoulders, the long torso, everything you'd be like.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges like has the longest
arms.
He's
God,
he's just like built to be a basketball
like a spider,
player. Yes.
man.
He's like
he looks like a spider to me, just like arms and legs that just can extend forever.
Yeah, he's just like has a perfect build for a basketball player. The modern NBA, the positionless basketball. He's long enough to cover a lot of different people. He has a great touch. Like it's funny that I always thought he was good too, but it is the thing where now he is the guy in Brooklyn. You really start to understand like just how good he can be. Yeah. So it's
his step backs and stuff. His one-on-one 3-point shooting was like, man, this guy's tough. Let's take a break because I didn't get to what is to me the most frustrating story, and that is that Michael Porter Jr. got benched last night, and to me it's a big deal.
Oh, cool. Let's talk about it. Let's go.
Let's get into some concern level stuff here on the other side.
Guys, when you get hurt, Backus and Shanker is here to help. Give them a call today, 222-2222. They got the easiest number to remember. To set up a consultation, Backus and Shanker wins for Colorado families. They've been helping those who are seriously injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. And the thing about Backus and Shanker, you don't pay them any money until they win your case. No upfront fees, no fees while they're working on your case. They've won over $1 billion for clients. Give them a call today, 222-2222, Backus and Shanker. They help with all kinds of injury cases where you weren't at fault. Car accidents, motorcycle, rideshare, pedestrians, trucks. They even help you if you're injured at work. If you have a case, give them a call for free. Backus and Shanker wins. Also, at Shady Rays, they've got this great deal going on exclusively for DNVR listeners. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com, use the code DNVR, or visit them in store. They're right here, Park Meadows Mall. 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. They've got awesome shades. They've got ski goggles. They've got tons of other stuff at Shady Rays. This is just for DNVR listeners. 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Use the code DNVR online, shadyrays.com, or in store.
Yeah, and if you want a real life demonstration of how great Shady Rays are, you just need to anytime that's about 5 or 6 minutes before I need to be here, you can catch me on my scooter, hurriedly racing towards the studio, wearing some Shady Rays because they block the wind out of my eyes.
Great for scooter riding.
I bought a scooter that goes a little faster than the normal scooter. I don't like the wind whipping in my eyeballs.
See, that's a humble brag right there.
Oh yeah,
my
dude.
Scooter's a little faster than most
dude.
scooters.
Oh, listen, most adult men get lost in things like cars or things that have actual,
Scootering around. It is scooter season. I took mine out for the first time the other day.
Bro, I look incredible.
You have a scooter also?
Oh, I've got a scooter, bro.
Wait, is this just the thing? Everybody has their own scooter now?
I go birding on my scooter. It's the best thing in the world.
You do not.
I swear to God, I do. It's the best. You can get so much ground. I cover miles on my scooter, man. I can get to all these different meadows.
Where are you going, Adam? Oh, just birding on the scooter.
True. I'm telling you, it's the best. I got my little backpack that I take. It's got my
Do we call it like
with a back? Oh my God.
That's like the closest you'll ever be to living real life Pokemon. Going around, just got to collect them all. Birds on a scooter.
That's exactly.
It's like a 7-year-old. I'm proud.
It's actually right. It's actually right. So let's talk about this. Last night, Michael Porter Jr. goes to the bench relatively early in that third quarter, and then doesn't come back in until 26 seconds left. He was 23 points, I think 9 of 12 shooting, 23 points in 23 minutes. He made a couple of bad turnovers.
2 in a row. Two straight possessions.
2 in a row. When I went back and watched the third quarter, I want to see what did I miss? How much of this was on him? I did not feel that it was any more on him than it was on any other player. And I didn't feel that, and they happened 2 in a row, but there were turnovers that were actually even louder than that happened over that entire stretch, where you look at and you say, if I'm just going off of how damning or damaging were the turnovers and how just like you're not trying or you're not focused or whatever, they just did not stick out to me. And here's why it's important to me. Michael Porter Jr. is the guy that I think has sacrificed as much as anybody on the roster in terms of, he has a huge contract. I'm not trying to take that away from him. But I think that he is a guy that we all feel in other circumstances is probably taking 4 or 5 more shots a game. He's a good scorer, this or that. the fact that he's bought in all year and done all these things, and then more important than any of this, the fact that this is a strategy that they are almost certain to see in the playoffs, and that Michael Malone went away from it so deliberately to me, it makes me sit back and think, does Michael Malone trust Michael Porter Jr.? And last night went a long way towards me going, I don't think he does. I don't think he does. The fact that he was scoring at the level that he was, the fact that Denver had so many guys playing poorly and he was the odd man out. And by the way, Bruce Brown, Reggie Jackson, they had some egregious turnovers that were, to me, as bad, if not worse. So to me, I don't know if it was an oversight. I don't know if it was a mistake. After the game, Michael Malone didn't have a thing. Sometimes he'll be like, you know what, we weren't getting stops and I need this or that. It wasn't even that.
Yeah, it was such a non-answer.
It was such a non-answer that part of me thinks he forgot.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. And then part of me, and this is the thing that's most scary, this is my actual read on Michael Malone. It's not just in this moment. It's the broader context of coaching him. I think he's very principled in that I think he has a vision and a view of how the game ought to be played. It sometimes blinds him from what's actually happening in a moment. I don't think he's a good in-game adjuster. And I think part of that is because he has a notion of what should happen, and then he judges a game based on how it fits that notion. Last night was an example of it. I need my defensive players out there. Michael Porter Jr., when he was on the court last night, 114 defensive rating. I think that was second best of everybody on the court. Yeah. But it didn't fit the idea of I need defenders. Where are they at?
Yeah. I rewatched a third quarter too, and I agree. I mean, he didn't stand out as like a guy who was playing bad defense. Those two turnovers were really bad though.
And they were in a row, so maybe
they were right in a row.
Worse?
One of them led right to a transition bucket for Brooklyn. And like he was getting switched on to Spencer Dinwiddie throughout that quarter. That's what Brooklyn was trying to do. And Spencer Dinwiddie was scoring. I thought it was pretty good defense by MPJ on both of those switches. Right. Dinwiddie honestly hit some tough shots.
Like a 14-foot floater.
That you're good with
like,
giving up. But yeah, I mean, MPJ not getting back into that game I thought was bullshit. And if I'm Michael Porter, I'd be pissed. Like, I'd be pissed about that based on how I played in that first half, but also just like you talked about, what I've given this season. Like, this has been, I think, one of the best storylines of this Nuggets season. Maybe the best storyline.
Yeah,
Michael Porter Jr. buying in and becoming a complete player. Michael Malone even said this a week ago, that Michael Porter has done everything that the Nuggets have asked of him. They had this checklist for him coming into the season, be a better defender, be more committed, fit into your role better on all. He's done everything. He's checked off all the boxes. And now just like to not trust him at the end of a game, to not go back to him. And I actually have a read on why he might not have gotten back into the game just because of the lineup that was out there. But if I'm Michael Porter, I'd be pissed. Absolutely.
But what's funny about the lineup that was out, because that was one of the things he said, well, the lineup had it going or whatever. The bench actually was horrible to start the fourth. It didn't turn around until Jokic came back in.
That's weird.
But right. But if you think about who was out there at the end, Jokic, Aaron Gordon, KCP, Christian Brown.
Right.
Those four are going to be out there. Yep. And I guarantee you this is how Michael Malone was thinking. We need a point guard.
Right.
Bruce Brown.
Yep.
And that would have actually been Murray.
Right.
And it might have felt a little
that.
different.
Right.
It's basically Christian
that's what happened. Still, I think you can make the argument like, did Bruce Brown really do that much point guarding at the end of that game?
But this is my thing
he shot a terrible floater.
But this is my thing about principled versus reading the moment is that to me is more thinking about what the game should be. Well, I need a point guard and I need this. And it's like, no, you have a guy who's on fire. That honestly, offensively speaking only, might have been the best game of the year for Michael Porter on a per minute basis.
Yeah.
He might have had 35 points last night. He was making all types of shots. He had a poster dunk.
Yeah.
2 games in a row with a poster dunk over somebody. He's feeling great. His off the dribble game in that game, escape dribble, get to the mid range and fire. So to me, this is what makes it so frustrating is reading the game. I thought Porter was actually a key piece of it.
Yeah, I felt like in the moment, it felt like Michael Malone was like a dad that was like threatening to turn the car around because like, which is like I put this on Twitter. First off, the very notion that you would bench Klay Thompson in the waning moments of a game that you were down because he wasn't his sharpest in the third quarter, is like, that's the big picture here, Michael Malone.
Right.
It's not in. We're not looking. We have our guys, like we have our dogs, we have our core, we have the guys that you look to, that you count on, that the Nuggets live or die by, and everybody else just has to sort of like circulate around them. Michael Porter Jr. is most assuredly one of those guys.
Is he?
Yes. I mean, whether or not you don't think he's like an important down the stretch guy?
Well, I'm saying, like, is he to the team? Like, is he to Michael Malone?
To the team,
I'm
yes.
saying to Michael Malone, I don't know. He clearly is that. Like, whether or not he acknowledges it or not, there's something about like the disciplinarian in Michael Malone that I feel like he just can't ever let go of. But we are so far beyond the point of needing to send a message to this team. Like, we are so far beyond the like, okay, I'm grooming you to be the player that I need you to be, and if you mess up, you're going to know about it and you're going to be benched. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. Like, if we're at that point in the maturation of this team, like, we are in deep trouble.
Michael Porter doesn't get held to the same standards as everybody else. And I think part of that is obviously he entered the league and entered the Nuggets rotation as like a really, really bad defender. And he also used to be like, he used to be a specialized player. He used to be a specialist, this offensive injection
you couldn't count on in
instant
defense.
Offense bit. Like, he's not a bit player anymore.
No.
He's a part of the core. He's a big part of what the Nuggets are doing this season and what they're going to do. And, he doesn't, get pulled off the floor for the same mistakes that like Jamal Murray. Like, Jamal Murray stays on the floor for the same mistakes that Michael Porter Jr. makes.
I think if he would have come back into the game, first of all, no matter what would have happened, it would have been a better outcome than this. I mean, maybe Denver steals that game and then you can say, well, they just needed a win or whatever. I would actually push back. When you're up 5 games in the loss column, that game process becomes more important than results.
Everything is about process now.
But I would go to say that if Michael Porter checks back into the game in the fourth quarter and it goes exactly like it did in the third, you have a data point to go to that says when we get into a playoffs, Michael, let's look at the tape. We lost this game. Teams are going to do this. They're going to go small.
Right.
They're going to dare this or that. And then defensively, you're going to have to be in space. And if you're getting cooked by Royce O'Neal and Spencer Dinwiddie and whoever else, Mikal Bridges, there's evidence to point to say, hey, man, this is what it means to win a title. You're doing all this, but this is the final step. Instead, what we get is a game where he wasn't on the court. You have to wonder if I were Michael Porter, I don't want to project and say I know exactly, but if I were him, to me, there's no way I could talk myself into my coach trusts me.
Did you see him on the bench last night?
I mean, he would look pretty distraught.
This was him.
Yeah.
For the entire fourth
He
quarter.
looked like Vogt during any one of these one of these shows.
That's so true. Vogt does have the arms crossed, so we love you, bud. I know you're watching. But I think that, to me, that's the most damning part of this. And these things can come and go. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here because this is a molehill. It is a one-off in a series of losses for the Nuggets, but this was the only game he got benched. I think that this is one where Michael Malone as a coach probably has to do some damage control. And
I do too.
I would say maybe that's an apology, but let's say maybe it's not an apology. You need to get back on the same page, and you need to make sure that that guy knows that you have his back, because last night you signaled that you did not.
I always want to believe that there is some larger strategy in play. I don't actually believe it, but I like to believe it. Like, I like to talk myself into thinking that
there wasn't last
everybody is thinking about this as much as we are. And I believe that in many ways, Michael Malone is a great tactician, and there could be some 4D chess going on where it's sort of like he does this a lot, where he'll scold publicly and then build up privately, and it could be, he's like, I'm just not getting what I need to out of Mike. Like, I'm going to make a big deal about it, and then I'm going to bring him into the office the next day and reconnect. I mean, listen, I would not do this, but this is not an uncommon tactic when you're talking about the world in which Michael Malone comes from, like a military thing, but unfortunately, my larger point is that I cannot believe, if that is the case, I can't believe we're still there with the relationship building.
I don't think that's what it was, though.
I don't. I'm just looking for anything.
But here's why I'm pushing back on it, because what I really think that move demonstrates more than anything, I think Michael Malone is more stressed than anyone else on the Nuggets roster. Maybe for good reason. But I think that one of the good things that can come out of this losing streak in the stretch is there's 4 weeks left in the season, and you kind of get a taste of what playoff pressure feels like. I think the Nuggets are all down right now because of the conversation, and just they're starting to feel like, oh my God, this is getting real. Like, what we do in the playoffs is going to reverberate for years to come, and that just is heavy. And I think it's good that they're getting it. But Michael Malone, I think, is also experiencing that, and I think that he is not handling it well right now. And this is hopefully a chance for him to step back and go, I need to be one of the sources of calm and collectedness and make clear-minded decisions. And in that game, I just felt like he hit the panic button a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've seen like him come out of situations similar to this in the past and, come out with a better plan.
Sure.
Repair relationships or, mend that stuff or have different rotations and lineups. We've seen him make changes many, many times, even this year, when things have been stacking up to an extent like they are right now. So I have confidence that, they'll come out of this better.
Like I return to, there's not a lot of games that happen where I'm just like irate at the way that Malone handled it, where he can just be like, that, you idiot. Like, you really dropped the ball,
right.
And this was one of those games. And there's not usually a lot of those in a row. There's like, if you hit one where you're like, bro, what were you doing? He is introspective enough that he generally will comment on it or will make the adjustment you were screaming for, always later than you wanted to. But I don't think that Michael Malone comes out of that and is just so pig-headed. He's like, well, that's what it's going to be. I'm sure that he's like,
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes from it. I just know that
I think it was
has been the history.
Anxiety made him miss the forest for the trees.
I agree, and I to go back to the larger point earlier, like I think it's great that they're running into this kind of comedy routine stuff where you're like, man, you just have to be bigger than this.
Yeah.
You have to take a step back. You need to, in the same way you're asking your players to reevaluate, to reassess, to focus, to lock in, to avoid all outside noise. You, Michael Malone, need to do the same thing and not be so panicked. Have a larger script, or even if it's not a script, although to be honest, it needs to be a script for him. Like he needs to have something he's trying, and then when it doesn't work, he has to move off of it again, like in the next game. If he tries to make things happen in the moment, it never goes well. Never. You get like weird panic lineups, and then
That's rough for a playoff run.
I know. I know.
Malone just has to keep his calm while also understanding that he could be out of a job in 6
But
weeks.
generally speaking, once it's
the pressure's big, man.
Yeah. Generally speaking, once it's figured out, then they're good. Like then he's got it covered.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, let's take another break. On the other side, I want to talk about a series of things, and we're going to rank them. We have some numbers 1 through 10 on a level of how concerned we are.
Jive Hive is a virtual dispensary on wheels. Visit them, jivehive.com, to schedule a delivery. Jivehive.com, they serve a bunch of areas in Colorado: Aurora, Greenwood Village, Monument, Fountain, various areas of El Paso County. Jivehive.com. Go to jivehive.com, get your order delivered in the same day, or schedule a delivery window. They'll pull up right to your house, your office, your bar, like wherever you want them to go, they will go.
You can schedule it to coincide with the ending of the next Nuggets game.
Yeah, I would recommend that. Jivehive.com, a virtual dispensary on wheels. Great pricing, super convenient, it's private, it's secure. Jivehive.com. Check them out today. Also at DraftKings Sportsbook, they've got the NBA No Sweat Same Game Parlay still going on every single day.
Who's sweating?
You're not, if you're using the No Sweat Same Game Parlay.
I'm literally wearing a sweatshirt, not even sweating.
It is so nice whenever I look in there and see I have a free bet, but it's also it's just a
Really
reminder
just a
that
reminder.
I lost my previous bet.
Yeah.
But you know what? No harm, no foul.
Some people fail
give
up
and
in this
take.
world, you know?
Yeah. But register for that No Sweat Same Game Parlay. Opt in, place your bet. Hey, if you don't make your bet, if you don't get that green, it's all good. You get a free bet the next day. Use it on the next Nuggets game.
Yeah, man.
The No Sweat Same Game Parlay from DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up with code DNVR. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. That's with code DNVR. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Per Mike Singer, Jamal Murray is listed as questionable for tomorrow.
Let me, in parentheses, legs.
Legs. Yeah, knee.
Yeah.
God damn it.
By the way, it's at Toronto, so that's sort of a homecoming game for him. So if he misses it, he wouldn't miss that one. Just
No,
to,
dude. They just need to go up there and just take a hot maple syrup bath.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, dude.
The
Maple
healing
syrup
powers of
bath?
maple syrup.
Yes.
This is terrible.
You didn't
This
know
is terrible.
that?
I apologize, Canada, for his ignorance.
Covered in gravy.
Canadians so mad right now about your maple syrup slander.
The Canadians that we've wholly failed to recruit. By the way, we've had
That's so true.
We've
Where
had
they at?
just as long with Jamal Murray.
We
as
just
we have.
had a Canadian in the bar though.
Yeah, we had. Yes,
A
we
boy.
did. Sasha and Gordon, not Canadian,
Yeah.
pays us in Canadian currency.
Sasha also wasn't he?
He's Serbian. Yeah,
But he lives in Canada, close enough.
Canada. We just Canada. What are we doing wrong? Come on.
What are we doing wrong?
I guess-
Do we need
I
to
guess-
take a trip to Kitchener?
I guess-
Just let us know.
I guess
if we
my
do.
maple syrup bath didn't really help the.
We're going to give a little scale here, guys, 1 to 10. 10 being supremely concerned. Organize those into the order here.
There's
so
a lot
you
of
gotta-
cards here.
The 1 to 10 on how concerned you are for these various topics for the Denver Nuggets. We're going to start with Jamal Murray's health. 10 being the most concerned. How concerned are you?
Meow.
7?
Seven.
7? I went 8, so I'm the hot takey of this one here. I mean, 7 or 8. It's so hard to know the difference between those.
Yeah, this is very.
We could have probably done 1, 2, or 3, and it might have been more
Yeah,
accurate.
it's not scientific.
It's
what we're
not
doing.
that scientific what we're doing.
Let us know in the comments. too.
Yeah, let us
Look at
know.
a
Play
10,
along
a
with us.
9.
Play
Woo.
along
How
with us.
far off? are
So here's the thing about Jamal. He needs to be his quickest self,
Yes, he does.
and he needs to be able to go deep into the playoffs.
Oh,
I'm
God.
worried right now.
I
that
gotta
he-
change mine up.
He
I'm
looks
at a
like a
9.
guy that even if he needs like a week off and then he's healthy, how long does it take for him to get back in that super shape? That's the thing that is always worried me about Jamal is I just feel like you can tell the difference between, man, that guy is lean, he's quick, he's got so much stamina, and the one that's like, he seems like he's laboring a little bit. We're at the laboring one right now, and even if he does get healthy, there's 4 weeks. Is he going to be in prime time shape by the time you get to that first round? I'm
No.
concerned.
Probably not.
You say no? I'm saying
why,
it as in
why would he be?
oh, because it's the playoffs.
I mean, he's labored through an entire season so far. This has been my thing all year. They've been playing him too much the entire season, man. From game one, they were playing him too much. It was obvious, like, to me. But I think the thing you do have to always think about with Jamal is that he's a big game player, and I just have this inherent confidence in him to always show up in the big moments. And even if he's playing through something, it's not going to seem, at least I think, like he's playing through something in the playoffs, like it seems like he's playing through something in the regular season. He just elevates himself above things in big games.
Are you saying-
and I feel like we have to trust him to just come through from that perspective.
Are you saying a game against the Spurs on the road is not big time basketball?
No.
In his mind? All right, well, fine.
No.
Yeah, it's true. He
He
does,
can overcome stuff in those big time
but
moments.
I'm clear. But I agree with that. But I also am watching him move, and it's not great right now. And it keeps vacillating between good and not good, good and not good. And we've gotten maybe I'll have to check the barometer, but it's not hit the highest
Right.
point very often. It certainly didn't stay there for that long. So I just the thing about Jamal is that he's not consistent. It's all about the consistency. It just is. That's just it. Jamal
Might be who he is.
Jamal is an inconsistent player. Like, for whatever reason, his body betrays him more than you would expect, and he is affected by it, as we all would be. I hate that we're having these conversations. We obviously are going to. I mean, we just wanted, as soon as he came back, for it to just be light back on. He is Bubble Murray. It's unrealistic. It's historically been unrealistic for a player to come back from an injury like his to be able to give you even like 80% of what he was able to give you the previous year before the injury. So we're just seeing what that looks like. And you're right, Harrison. He shouldn't play as much as he plays. We're not,
Playing him in back-to-backs this season is crazy. It's crazy that they did that.
I was probably on the other side of it more, like thinking that they should try to get him to build up his, stamina and get stronger, but he just keeps breaking down. So I don't know. It's frustrating.
Let's get to another player's health. Aaron Gordon's health.
I'm 5 for me. I'm less concerned about this.
Yeah, I'm a total 5. I'm even lower. Is 5 the lowest we have?
I think there's lower ones in there.
I don't
think
have
you
a
have
full
1
set.
through 10.
Oh, I just have first.
First.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
First could mean
Well,
10.
I thought maybe these were for two different segments.
That's just a number. You're not at all concerned. I mean, here's the thing about Aaron Gordon. He was the Nuggets' second best player for like 3 months,
Yeah.
and since then, he's been good. But he's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
a
he's
good
kind of
point.
in a rut.
My thing with Gordon is that he doesn't have a history of this.
Yeah, that's true.
He's just hurt now.
Yeah, I think
and
you're
it's
right.
he doesn't have like a structural issue. He has a soft tissue issue.
But it's been a long
Tissue
time.
issue.
I mean, it's been there's 4
had
weeks
the
left in
rib
the season,
contusion.
and
No, I
hasn't
know.
been more
Structural.
than 4 weeks.
But it's not like his knee or it's not like his core. It's like getting punched stuff versus having like deep
I mean,
strains.
something's up with
and
his
stuff.
shoulder.
It's
I
true.
wonder
It's
what
true.
his 3-point splits have been throughout the year because that's. I mean, I think teams are going to leave him open in the
His
playoffs.
3-point shot's been pretty good recently, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm going to look.
He's just not been as strong going to the rim. He's not been
Yeah.
slashing. He's not been finishing. He's not been dunking. He's not been a beast in the middle like he has been during his best stints.
We might be onto a trend here because 53% in November, 68% in December, 58% in that's free throw. Hold on, I'm wrong. 53, 37, 39. So 37 or above in the first 3 months, 33 in February, 29 in March. Now again, the sample size is small enough because he doesn't shoot that many threes. But it was just worth noting, shoulder injury.
Made one last night. Yeah.
Shoulder injury,
Maybe
does
two,
that affect
maybe
your
just
shot
one.
at all? I don't know.
Just one or did he make
He
two?
made one last night. 1 or 2.
Yeah, it was during the point. This is the thing.
Big no yes moment.
No, well, it was the second quarter when Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. checked in, and it was just like both of those guys scored. One of those guys scored on every possession,
Right.
and with Aaron Gordon hit 1-3 in between there. But it was a 2-man assault, Jokic and MPJ, and it was awesome.
What you worry about with Gordon and his injuries is like Gordon's got to be a beast inside for Denver in the playoffs.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's got to be the Nuggets muscle inside. Like he's going to be going up against a lot of just like physical dudes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe he's going to be playing the backup 5. He's going to have to be physical. He's going to have to be getting on the glass if he's playing that role. So he's got to be healthy because he's got to be able to like trust using his body.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Nuggets are going to need from him in the playoffs.
I also think, Eric, your point, he hasn't looked the happiest lately, and maybe it's because he's in pain. Maybe it's just the losing. Maybe it's just the dog
Maybe he's in
days.
charge of 3 markets. Has to do T-shirts and things like that.
Yeah,
Who
maybe
knows?
maybe you're projecting. I think.
What?
Yeah, I think you're projecting.
What
on
are you
that one.
talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if he's in charge of 3 markets and making
No one
t-shirts.
could be that miserable otherwise.
Yeah. 3-guard lineups, you guys. Michael Malone. I think it's a trait of the Michael Malone era. He loves 3-guard lineups.
Is there a
How
20?
concerned are we with them?
10.
Meaning, like are we concerned that we'll keep using them, or that about the?
That they will harm the Nuggets.
Take it however you want, man.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna put my Malone colored glasses on and
What?
say 5. Yeah, that's right. I don't know what color Malone is, but that's what color glasses I have on. I believe that this will be solved because it's been so obviously not working.
What's the solve?
The solve
Who's
is to
pulled?
the solve is to not stagger Murray.
Oh, man, I don't see that one as honestly, of all the ways that we could get away from a 3-guard lineup, that's not the one I predict.
To me, the thing that needs to be happening is they need to put faith in Reggie Jackson to run the backup unit. Like that is the reason he was brought in. We need to then
Reggie Jackson was so bad.
So bad.
That's-
But I'm saying like it's the same thing we saw with Bones, where when you have 2 point guards, you have none. You just neither guy knows when to go, when to pull back, when to facilitate, when to be the shooting guard. It's just mass confusion.
So who do you stagger another player?
You stagger KCP. You stagger
But that's
Aaron
still 3
Gordon.
guards. So
you
that's
stagger
Reggie, Bruce,
but
and KCP.
that at least is a defensively. It's just like
I
Bruce
think-
being a miscast at then the 3. He's too little to guard that. Then you have a Christian Brown question. I'm saying like you have Bruce at the 2, Reggie at the 1. The 3 can be either Christian, but you can also stagger. You can bring in Aaron Gordon. You can bring in KCP. You can bring in Michael Porter Jr. if you want more offense. You bring in you stagger some of the taller, stronger guys, and then you have the center, which can be or the 4 can be Vlatko. It can be Michael Porter Jr. I mean, like to me, it's like. Jamal Murray is not solving that bench at all. It's actually creating a lot of issues. He's not getting the rest he requires. Now his knee is hurting, and it just is it's showing another pairing with another point guard that just absolutely doesn't work.
I think what you just laid out is part of why this is so hard.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take out Reggie Jackson, to me, there's only one solve, and that's to not play Murray with the bench and to play either Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter, something they haven't even tried this year.
Exactly.
So do I have faith that the Nuggets are going to arrive at that? I don't. I don't think I have faith that they're going to pull Murray out and then just say, hey, Michael Porter, you're playing with the bench a lot now, and go out there so you can get Christian Brown and Bruce and Reggie on the court together. And even then, do I have that much confidence that Reggie's going to run that group in a way that's going to be productive?
I just don't think. I'm sorry. I just don't think they'll keep going to it because it's just obviously not working. Sorry.
Reggie Jackson has been so bad.
So bad.
He had a turnover last night that is one of the worst turnovers I've seen in the NBA this year, man. He's been a disaster. And I thought that trading Bones Highland was going to make the Nuggets go away from the 3-guard look, but they've stuck with it.
They've tripled
just
down.
inserted Reggie Jackson into the Bones Highland spot, and the Nuggets lineup net rating with those three on the court, Jamal Murray, Bruce Brown, Reggie Jackson, is worse than it was with Jamal Murray, Bruce Brown, Bones Highland on the court. I thought that move was supposed to lead to more Christian Brown minutes. It somehow led to less. And I never want to see those 3 guards on the court together again.
This is another thing about principle versus what are you actually seeing. And I just principle is, well, we got a point guard and now we need a point guard on the court, so let's put it on the court. And analyzing it would be, wow, what an absolute disaster every single game has been -1.
The larger principle is what he always says. He's like, he either wants one of Jokic or Murray on the court at any given time.
It's another principle.
That's a principle that we are operating under. But it's
be.
a poor principle. It's not proving to work for whatever reason. Jamal Murray shrinks so mightily when he's on that second unit. It is so confusing, but it's just clearly not. I mean, I guess that he views them as his time off minutes, even though he's on the court, his on-off time. I don't know, but it's not working.
Last couple ones. Let's go rapid fire here. Nuggets' ability to attack small ball. Ready for the reveal?
Say
3.
I think
6.
I am very confident they will solve this issue.
Do you want to know why I'm a little concerned about it? Where are you at, Eric?
I'm kind of
it takes you
6-2.
forever. All right, there you go.
What is
6.
it not?
It's the same. You've got put
That's
them in order.
a blanket.
You put them in
That's
order.
a principle.
You put
That's
1
not
through 10, and you just sort through it.
I had to make a decision.
So the reason I think that Denver actually, in a weird way, doesn't know how to play without Jokic.
You think?
Well, I'm not. I mean, when he's on the court, like the team trying to double him, and Denver not being able to say, maybe we don't need to.
Right, just like trying to feed him the ball for 10 seconds in a row.
Waste the entire goddamn possession, just like looking at it like, oh man, it's too hard to sneak a pass in. Maybe attack 4 on 3.
Yeah.
You've got, and this is why Murray was so frustrating. Look, he was hurt. He ended up not coming back in the game, so maybe he was just too banged up. But
Legs.
KCP, Michael Porter Jr., 2 of the best floor spacers in the NBA. 2 guys on Jokic. You're basically attacking 2-on-1 with you and Aaron Gordon. Like, the fact that you couldn't punish that last night, I am a little concerned about that just because I think Denver's going to see a lot of it in the playoffs. I think a lot of teams are going to say, what happens when we take away the post entry or elbow entry to Yoke?
I'm concerned, no doubt. I'm concerned right now. I think this is something they'll figure out, mostly because I think Jokic will figure it out.
All right.
I think he'll crack the code. And maybe he can grab the whiteboard and tell everybody what to do again.
One good thing here, they play a bunch of teams coming up on the road that play this exact style. Toronto, nothing but wings. Brooklyn, again, another chance.
Yeah.
So I think that Denver's going to get a little bit of practice here on this road trip, should they choose to use it.
Yeah.
And if Murray's not available, I think it would suck because I think you need to have him out there for it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they will see it enough and get enough experience against it where they absolutely should not be flummoxed or like rattled at all if they see it in the playoffs.
It's like when you watch your team play and like suddenly a zone comes up and they have like no. It's as though they've never seen it before. It's bizarre, but we've seen the hallmark of the Jokic-led team is that at a certain point, like Draymond Green's going to beat you until he figures it out, and then it's barbecue chicken.
Let's take a break, one mini break here. On the other side, let's look at this tiniest break. On the other side, we're going to look at the 5 games on the road trip and say, what is a successful road trip here?
Guys, Backus and Schenker, they win for Colorado families. They've been helping those who are seriously injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. You don't pay them any money until they win your case. No upfront fees to speak with them about your case. No fees while they work on your case. They've won over $1 billion for their clients, and they have neighborhood offices in Denver, Aurora, Englewood, and Fort Collins. Give them a call, 222-2222. Just mash the 2 button.
Yeah, dude. 222.
You'll get through to either Bacchus or Shank.
Yeah, it'll be just pretend you're Jokic against an athletic big in the post. 222.
Call them today to find out if you have a case where you weren't at fault. Car accidents, motorcycle, rideshare, pedestrians, trucks, even injuries at work. Call them today for free.
I would point. So one comment I want to address. Somebody, I think I can't tell if that's Iroel or Ilroel, but Jamal is playing too much hero ball. I actually think this is true in that I think Murray has taken
villain ball at this point.
I think he has actually taken some shots that are well outside of the flow of the offense. The thing is he's the one guy that I think gets to do that because Denver needs it. So right now he's not making them, and when he misses them, he goes 5 of 17 or whatever he did the other night. But I will say that's a razor's edge. You take too many of those, and it really does kill the funk. And he is always right on that edge, and lately he hasn't been hitting. All right, road trip. Oh, we have 2 super chats. Can we get to those real quick? 3 super chats. Dylan says, "I can't believe Dan and I cursed the Nuggets."
Yeah, sorry, man.
What happened?
He gave us a $2
So
bill.
he gave us the dollar. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You didn't. Listen, it's not you. It's us.
Yeah.
It's not you. Also,
It's also not.
It's
not
also
you.
not
But
us.
it's
you.
Yeah, it's you. Landau says, "We praised this team for the absence of ego, but last game made me think about Malone's ego. He didn't look like he's ready to reflect on his mistakes." Well, first of all, I agree. Guys reflecting on it. First of all, funny story. Where we sit, they block off your ability to go down into the tunnel for some reason. So sometimes
After the game,
because players have to come through or whatever, waiting to go down and then walk to the tunnel. Malone had already started his presser. Very
it
rare.
was one of those.
It happens maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah. So it was a very quick post-game address with the team.
And usually he just at the same time, and then you get there. Half of us are walking to the presser, and he'd already started. And I'm thinking, come on, dude. You don't even have a chance to walk down to the media scrum. You know that he was frustrated.
Yeah.
But so by the time he was answering those questions was so quick after the game, I don't think we should judge him on those comments. We judge him on the decision. I judge him on that. But this idea that he didn't reflect on it by after the game.
He will.
Well,
usually if they have a practice
contemplative.
the next day or something, he usually is very reflective then.
I hope he got with them on
He
the
is,
flight.
man.
Hey, man, my bad. I was freaking
Michael
out on the
Malone-
bench.
yeah.
Do you think
over there.
he sat with Michael Porter on the flight?
He's like, dude, I was panicking on the sidelines. I couldn't even
think
see
they watched
anything.
some Netflix
He's
together
like,
on the
can I
flight?
level with you? I have no idea what I'm doing.
I am so nervous.
Did you see that sketch on I Think You Should Leave where somebody's like, "Oh, hey man," honking somebody in the parking lot. "Don't you know how to drive?" He puts his he's like, "I don't. I have no idea how any of this works. I'm terrified." That's Michael Malone. He's
All right,
like,
what else? Flo says we should have kept Bones.
Nope.
Man, somebody I
Definitely should
want
not
to get
have,
in front.
but-
Yeah, I want to get in front of this. Somebody wrote me and said, "All I know is that the team lost their chemistry when Bones was traded. The locker room is clearly upset about this trade." I understand why you might think that. I'm going to tell you that is not the case.
All we know is the locker room wanted him to be traded. We know that. So,
just not MPJ.
Just not MPJ. Yeah, not MPJ.
No,
which makes
maybe not.
Look, man, this is why the Malone
those
MPJ.
two, yes, those two are kindred spirits in that they
got the tough love.
They got the tough love. They
I think
were the
MPJ texted Bones
yeah. They
last
came
night
in.
and was like,
They came in with beautiful spirits, and Malone was like,
Bro.
"Bet I'm gonna break those."
I'm going to break these guys. Definitely true. I mean, Christian Brown honestly is getting a little bit of it right now too. I think
it's called being a rookie on Michael Malone's team. Deal with it.
Yeah. Another one came in. All right, here we go. Gail says, MPJ greater than Jamal. If Jokic requested a trade, even though depression would hit, I would still understand him.
Jokic
Terrible.
would retire before he requested
Man, I'm
a
telling you,
trade.
fandom is so funny that
It
people
is.
go to this place.
It is crazy.
Is he too good for us? I think he is.
It literally
I
takes.
just want him to be happy.
It literally takes 3 games to go
Yeah.
from the S word to the S house.
So true. We did go from up here to down. I know, doing the show today, the ESPN show, I am sitting there, some of these going, Denver just had their best week of the season last week.
Yeah.
They beat Cleveland, the Clippers, and Memphis in a row.
Jokic has been the player of the month every available month so far this year. But now we're like, it was all a lie.
And they followed it up with one really bad week against games that don't matter.
Dude, imagine we're holding the Larry O'B later. We're like, oh, God, remember that 3-game losing streak? Man, that sucked.
They should have had this in November. Nobody would have known.
GK, who I assume is George Karl, even though he's using pounds.
Sneaky. Wow.
Greg Popovich would have done the same with MPJ. Go with the flow of the game, not with the name. Man, but this is my point. Was that the flow of the game? Denver, again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. MPJ, the Nuggets with MPJ on the court, 114 defensive rating. With him off, it was like 180. The numbers did not bear out that he was the guy that was getting cooked on defense. It just was not the case. And the numbers did bear out that he made almost every single shot he took, which Denver needed because in that third quarter, they gave up 37 points, but they also only scored 18.
Yeah.
Four of those came from Michael Porter in the first 2 minutes of the quarter.
Why are we talking about old stuff on this podcast, man?
You're right. Why are we? Let's get to this last bit here before this Buff show begins, which is they got a 5-game road trip at Toronto, at Detroit, at the Knicks, at the Nets on the second night of a back-to-back, and then Washington. Eric, I'll let you go first. What would qualify as success for this?
Success on an NBA road trip is 50%, always. If you can get a 50% on the road, you're...
Out of 5 games, how do you do that?
You win half of a game, but then lose it.
Okay. You have one moral victory.
Yeah, you get a moral victory.
2-1 or 2-2 with one moral victory.
Yeah, or we win a bet that we weren't expecting.
Ooh, I like that. The parlay came in.
No, I like 2 or 3. I mean,
go through these.
So say them again. I'm sorry.
Toronto.
At Toronto.
Okay, so you would hope
That's a loss.
That's a tough one. Yep.
Detroit.
That's a win.
That's a win. Yeah.
I bet that one better be. We're going to sound the alarms if they lose that one. Knicks.
That's a win.
That's probably that might be an L. They get up for that Knicks
in the Garden.
In the Garden, that Jokic is going to drop a 40 burger on the Knickaroos.
Second night of a back-to-back Nets,
loss.
but no travel.
That's a loss.
L.
Man, to me, that's almost the more important one. To me, that's the one I want to see because they represent such an important test. And then the Wizards.
Dub. So that's 3 wins.
Could go either way.
So 2 wins are almost gimmies. 3 are tough.
The Washington game is going to either make the road trip a success or a failure because they're going to be 2-2 going into that game.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a trap game because the next one is the Bucks at home, big game. So I think 3-2 to me would feel good. I would not be surprised at 2-3. I think this is going to be tough, especially if you don't have Jamal Murray.
I would probably bet on 2-3.
But Toronto, Brooklyn, is to a certain extent New York. They just represent an interesting challenge for Denver with all this length on the perimeter and on the wings. And I just want to see if more and more teams try to go to the strategy against Denver. Let's just take Jokic away. Let's double him before he catches the ball so they have to go somewhere else. And does Denver read the court better? All right, 2 more super chats came in. The people love us, man. What can we say? Laking ball.
Who actually hates us?
All right, guys, with this small ball against the Nuggets, what West team could do this in the playoffs? And for MPJ, could he be Mikal Bridges on his own team being a first option? I'll say this, man. I'm so impressed with Porter's offense. He's scoring in a the fact that he had 2 poster dunks, 1 in each game, it's so underrated. I wish we were talking about what a big deal it was that he couldn't dunk for the first 2 months of the season. He couldn't even dunk the ball. Right. And now he's postering people off of one head fake, one dribble dunk. It's huge. I think his offensive game is actually at a season high right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing the best offensive basketball that he has, and athleticism looks great.
The game looks so slow.
That's why this benching is so tough, is because I'm like, I don't want to squash this momentum. I feel like the momentum is so big and so important. To answer the first part, I don't know if he could be. Mikal Bridges is a great 2-way player. I don't think Porter is the great 2-way, but offensively, yeah, I think his game he has more to his game.
I think he could be Kevin Porter Jr.
Maybe. I think he's better than that. I think
just a guy that I call, man,
Kevin Porter
that guy
sucks.
can fill it up, but it's the Rockets.
Kevin Porter sucks, man.
That's my point. Yeah, by himself. Okay, we got
but then the other part was what teams can do this in the West. I mean, the Phoenix Suns to me are the ultimate one because they can mix it up, play big, a real center, but also go small.
The Clippers, one of the first teams to ever do it to the Nuggets.
The Clippers, for sure, no question about it.
But the Nuggets have solved the Clippers.
Yeah, but look, a lot of this is 3-point shooting, and the Nets really made them. The Suns have the guys that can make them in that way. Outside of that, maybe the Warriors, but they're a lot smaller when you talk about Steph and Poole. That's just a smaller one. Oh, Dallas, a great example. Absolutely, Dallas plays this exact brand of basketball, so it could be them. And then what else?
Last
Jokic back to
one.
back says fire Malone and hire Adam Mares and we're good.
Yeah.
I promise you,
Yeah,
that
that'd
is
be
not
great.
true.
We're like, oh wow.
Only if I can be in charge of your
That's like
substitutions.
you see me like hit the jumper or something on a video or something like that. He should be playing shooting guard, man. You see him make that shot? Why not, man? Like,
yeah,
come on,
let's
man.
just say we're looking to lower the anxiety, and we'll leave it at that.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us. We got to get the buffs in
Let's
here.
go.
Hit the like button. Back tomorrow.